3 weeks later, more questions, few answers, no suspects.
You've probably never heard of the Lewis Clark Valley murders.
How truly special I felt to be your friend.
But this chilling mystery could be hiding right under your nose.
2 different letters, one from Dylan and one from Bethany.
A small town, 5 victims, and one terrifying theory.
My life was greatly impacted to have known these 4 beautiful people.
What if the killer is still out there?
Saying there is speculation without factual backing, stoking community fears and spreading false information.
Don't miss the truth behind these unsolved crimes.
Detective looked me in his eyes. I have no doubt he's working as hard as he can.
On April 28, 1979, the town of Assotin, in the heart of the Lewis Clark Valley, was celebrating the annual county fair. The air was filled with excitement, rides, popcorn, and laughter. But as the day turned to night, a dark twist unfolded. 12-year-old Chrissy Doe had been at the fair, enjoying the fun with her friends. After feeling unwell due to heat exhaustion, she called her mother. She was instructed to rest and drink water before heading home, just a 5-minute bike ride away. However, Chrissy never made it home. As the sun set, panic set in. Her mother waited, but there was no sign of Chrissy. The townspeople searched high and low, but the only trace left was Chrissy's schoolwork, found scattered around an old abandoned farm. The case remained unsolved, leaving a scar on the entire town. The fun and joy of the fair that day were forever overshadowed by the chilling mystery of Chrissy's disappearance. Over the next few years, the Lewis Clark Valley would be rocked by a series of chilling disappearances and murders, each more horrifying than the last. The first victim, Chrissy Doe, vanished in April 1979, leaving the town in shock. But what followed would make the residents question if they were dealing with a serial killer. In June 1981, Kristen David, a 22-year-old student, was last seen riding her bike down Highway 95. A week later, her dismembered remains were found along the Snake River. Her brutal murder seemed random. She had no known enemies. Then, in September 1982, 3 more victims disappeared from the Lewiston Civic Center: Christina Nelson, Brandy Miller, and Stephen Sell. Despite extensive searches, only the bodies of the girls were found months later. Stephen's body was never recovered, leading to suspicions about his role in the crime. These cases created a sense of terror, leaving a lasting mark on the valley's residents. In June 1981, 22-year-old Kristen David left Moscow, Idaho, on a bike ride heading to visit family. She was last seen on Highway 95 near Lewiston, but she never reached her destination. A week later, her dismembered remains were found by a fisherman along the Snake River. The body had been placed in black garbage bags, wrapped in newspapers, each part meticulously separated. There were no signs of her bike or clothes, raising more questions. Witnesses recalled seeing a man driving a brown sit-in near Kristen on the day of her disappearance, but he was never identified. Her murder seemed completely random, adding another eerie layer to the mystery. The brutality of the crime left the town haunted, with many fearing the possibility that someone was hunting them. On September 12, 1982, the Lewiston Civic Center became the scene of a horrifying mystery. That evening, Christina Nelson, Brandy Miller, and Stephen Sell, all employees at the Civic Center, vanished without a trace. Christina and Brandy had left to run errands, leaving the note for Christina's boyfriend. Meanwhile, Stephen, also a janitor, was dropped off to do laundry and practice his clarinet. But none of them returned home that night. Despite extensive searches, their whereabouts remained unknown. Months later, the bodies of Christina and Brandy were discovered on a hillside about 40 miles away. They had been murdered, though the exact cause of death was unclear due to severe decomposition. Stephen's body, however, was never found. Theories swirled, but no answers emerged. Was it the work of the same killer, or did they run into someone else that night? The mystery deepened, and the town was left with more questions than answers. As the investigation into the disappearances and murders of Chrissy, Kristen, Christina, Brandy, and Stephen continued, one chilling theory began to take shape. Could all these crimes be the work of a single serial killer? Though each murder appeared to have distinct characteristics, the victims shared similarities. Young women around the same age, all seemingly random targets in the Lewis Clark Valley. The brutality and eerie patterns suggested that someone was deliberately choosing victims and leaving behind no solid evidence. Investigators struggled to connect the dots, but many began to suspect that the killer was not just hunting for victims, but also for the thrill of evading capture. Was this cunning individual intentionally using different methods to confuse authorities and avoid detection? The theory that one person was responsible lingered, but the lack of concrete proof left the case unsolved, leaving the town in fear that the killer might strike again. As the years passed, the investigation into the Lewis Clark Valley murders began to lose momentum. Despite multiple disappearances and grisly discoveries, the case grew colder, leaving investigators with few clues and no arrests. By the mid-1980s, the town's residents were living in a constant state of unease, but with no new evidence, the case was eventually pushed aside. The murders remained unsolved, and the fear that gripped the community slowly began to fade, though never entirely. However, in 1995, the case was revived when new attention was brought to the possibility of a single suspect linking the murders. Police announced that they had a new lead and believed they had identified a person of interest, though they could not name him legally. The killer was still out there, and the unanswered questions lingered, haunting the town and leaving everyone wondering, would the truth ever come to light? In 1995, a new suspect emerged in the Lewis Clark Valley murders, a man referred to as Dave. Born in 1945, Dave's past raised suspicions, especially after his connections to the victims became more apparent. Dave had moved to Melba, Idaho in the early 1970s after serving in the Navy. His life in California before moving was marred by a suspicious incident in 1972, where he was caught trespassing at a mortuary. He had a flashlight, camera, and knife with him at the time, but was only charged with trespassing. Interestingly, Dave was also dating Chrissy's friend's older sister when Chrissy vanished. He was present during the search efforts, claiming he saw Chrissy earlier that day, but had no idea what happened afterward. Further investigation revealed that Dave often drove the same routes where Kristen and other victims disappeared. He also worked at the Lewiston Civic Center, where Christina, Brandy, and Stephen went missing. His presence at key moments raised even more red flags, suggesting his possible involvement in the murders. Despite all the connections between Dave and the victims, the case remains one of the most frustrating, unsolved mysteries in criminal history. Though investigators have strongly suspected him, they have never been able to gather enough evidence to definitively link him to the Lewis Clark Valley murders. Dave's behavior was unsettling. He was present at key moments during the disappearances, always in the right place at the right time. His involvement in multiple investigations, from Chicago to Idaho, only added to the suspicions. Yet, each time, he managed to evade charges. Years later, investigators still have no physical evidence to tie Dave directly to the crimes. The bodies of Chrissy and Stephen have never been found, leaving crucial pieces of the puzzle missing. As time passes, the chances of solving the case grow slimmer, but the questions about Dave's true role in these murders remain unanswered. The Lewis Clark Valley killings continue to haunt the town, a dark chapter in its history that may never be fully resolved. The mystery of the Lewis Clark Valley killings still lingers, and the truth remains just out of reach. Have you figured out the connection yet? The darkness in this story might be closer than you think. Stay tuned for our next video, the most haunting 911 calls in crime history. Trust us, you won't want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss another mystery that will keep you on the edge of your seat. This story is far from over.